All right. Hi, everyone. I'm going to give it a minute or so to um, let everyone come in and then we will begin. If you're here and you want to say hi or let me know you're here, feel free to put it in the chat box or comment. Um, but yeah, so I'm going to give it another minute or so, let all the stragglers in, and then we'll begin. All right. So, in today's presentation, I'm going to show you how I healed my relationship with food, weight, and body image. And um, hold on one second. Wait. Hmm? There is a technical difficulty. And we're going to open this back up. Okay. All right. So, we are talking today about intuitive eating, and I'm going to show you exactly what I did to heal my relationship with food, weight, and body image. So, if you're struggling with food, weight, or body image, then you're in the right place. My name is Danielle, and I fully recovered from years of struggling with an eating disorder. I had poor body image. I really struggled with that for a long time. Now I coach women in the intuitive eating process. I am a certified eating disorder intuitive therapy coach. I have a degree in psychology and a trauma informed yoga instructor, and I studied the mind body relationship in the Western neuroscientific lens and the Eastern holistic one. So, there's a huge misconception about intuitive eating. It doesn't mean eat anything, anytime, whatever, whenever. This is not true. And we'll talk more about this as we move through the workshop. Today, I'm going to share with you why you don't need to diet, how I was able to create a full and healthy life through intuitive eating, and I'll walk you through it. So first I'll share how I discovered the idea that dieting is actually really harmful to your body and doesn't work. It only perpetuates the problem. Then I'll share with you the 3 keys or the 3 secrets to achieving intuitive eating and healing body image for yourself. So those 3 secrets are: number 1, how to heal emotional eating without restrictive, unsustainable diets by using the intuitive eating approach and emotional regulation skills. The second secret is that even if you believe that you can't trust your body, you can still heal emotional eating with the 10 intuitive eating principles. Number 3 is how to eat intuitively, even when your body, even when you're surrounded by diet culture comments, because that could be a really, really tricky one. So before I get into the nitty-gritty details, let me share with you how I discovered this. I struggled with food and my body for a really long time. For me, it helped create this perfect storm that resulted in an eating disorder. I was always at war with my body. As a kid, I remember wishing that I could just like slice my belly off so it would be flat. And as I got older, I would beat myself up every time my clothing size would change. I weighed myself a lot. And you know what? The truth is that no matter what number came up on that scale, I never felt good enough. No matter what number those jeans size were, I never felt good enough. It never felt any better, no matter what I did. And I watched all the women in my life, all these role models talk about their bodies in a really negative way. And they all put themselves down from, who's starting a new diet, Weight Watchers meetings, because that was a big thing at the time, or, the groups of moms, right, that would gather at every function. And they always talked about how, oh, they gained too much weight or they have no self control. They need to be better. And we absorb it all. And if you have kids, they're absorbing it too. This diet talk and this diet culture, we absorb. So fitting myself into this box became my mission and the mission of every other girl as I watched girls strategically planning their snacks to meet specific and low calorie counts for the day and, the long hours at the gym. And I wish that it clicked for me sooner. I wish I learned what society told me was like the only way, the right way, in fact, wasn't. So there were many other factors that led to my having an eating disorder, but to be body conscious and to use food was what diet culture began programming into me from the very, very beginning. And when I went through treatment for my eating disorder, I was taught how to deconstruct that programming of diet culture and to actually honor my body. So my biggest fear was that if I wasn't so careful about my food, if I wasn't restricting my food, if I wasn't, on that diet, that I would get fat. I would be bad. And that's when I learned that diets don't work. They make you more insecure, right? To reinforce that programming. But if you eat intuitively and learn to actually understand the language in which your body communicates with you, you end up being healthier in body, mind, and soul, right? So dietitians, they taught me um, how wise my body actually was if I actually listened. And um, we all have this natural set point, and that set point is going to be different for everyone. Um, And most of all, that I didn't need to be afraid of getting fat, right? Because, you know, fat being this bad word or this bad thing, this fear was actually this social construct. And it's made to keep people engaged in diet culture. Because ditching diet culture is a key principle in intuitive eating for this very important reason. So, with care and exploration of what was possible outside diet culture and doing it differently, doing a lot of healing around how I felt about myself as a person, everything changed. And today I live a full life where food is just something that fuels my body and it's yummy, it's good. There's nothing wrong with that. My life now revolves around my relationships with others, feeling connected to my people, to myself. And I can finally be in my own company, no matter my size, no matter what others think of my body. It doesn't matter anymore. And so, with that said, let's get into the details of how to make this happen for yourself. Okay. So, the first secret is how to heal emotional eating without restrictive, unsustainable diets by using the intuitive eating approach and emotional regulation skills. So, the thing is that you don't need to diet in order to feel good in your skin. You just need to tune back into your body and have that toolbox of coping skills. Because when we tune back in, your body has all of the answers, right? And historically, you've been told and, convinced maybe that feeling good in your skin you know, you can't do that. You can't feel good. You can't be healthy. You can't accept yourself. You can't be confident. You can't be worthy. You can't be happy unless you diet, lose weight, and be thin. And this way of doing things is so outdated. There's always the next new dieting craze that's promised to work. And the thing is, it makes you feel insecure about the way you are. And so you go on the diet, which is usually an extreme diet, right? And maybe you do lose those few pounds, right? But you're miserable. You feel deprived. You feel like you're cheating. And the thing is that when you feel deprived, that is when you're at biggest risk for overeating, for binging, for emotional eating. It's that feeling of deprivation. If you think about deprivation and feeling deprivated around food, right? Let's use the example of trying to breathe, right? So you can take a deep breath in, and you might want to try this with me. Take a deep breath in and hold your breath at the top. Holding your breath because you can control your breath, right? Now, if you keep holding your breath and you keep holding your breath and you keep holding your breath, eventually your body is going to say, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. I need air. And you're going to gasp for air, right? Instead of what you usually do, what your day to day is, right? Before I asked you to hold your breath, you're gently, naturally inhale, exhale. But when you feel deprived, when there's that deprivation, even on a physiological level, your body is going to gasp for air. It's going to be a bigger breath. It's going to be a more intensified, more charged breath, right? And this is the same thing that happens with food. If you're feeling really deprived with your food, if you're feeling really deprived from a certain food, and you keep trying to diet and you keep feeling deprived, eventually, the only thing that's going to happen is that you dive in really big and indulge in all of those foods. And then usually that leads to feeling shame because of the diet culture programming, right? So, um, it doesn't work. So a few different things can happen here once you go on a diet and then you feel like you're cheating or you feel like you're deprived, right? So you feel the shame, right? So you might feel the shame of um, having fallen off the diet or having cheated on the diet or having binged or whatever that is for you that creates the shame, right? So, what do? There's two ways that this can go. One, you feel shame and you feel like you're bad. And so you go to this mentality of like, I need to diet tomorrow. I'm starting the diet tomorrow, right? Which leads us to this Last Supper mentality. And the Last Supper mentality is all about this idea of, I know that I'm going to be returning to a diet that feels restrictive to my hunger cues and restrictive to the foods that I like or the foods that make me feel comfort or whatever it is, right? Like, that those are not going to be available once you start the diet tomorrow. So what do? You say, screw it. I'm going to have as much as I can today because I already cheated. It's out the window. Let me go all or nothing, right? Dive into all of the food that I'm not going to be allowed to have when I get back on the diet, right? Which is usually followed up by more shame, right? After you do that, after you indulge, after you overeat or emotionally eat, you know, now you feel shame again because you still have that deeply ingrained programming of what is acceptable and what is, makes you worthy and all of that. So it makes you feel badly about yourself. And so you return back to the same unsustainable diet and the cycle repeats because you're thinking here, crap, there's something wrong with me. I'm not doing the diet right. I'm messing up. I don't have the self control. The diet is the answer, right? The diet must be the answer. So I'm doing it wrong. I suck. So I need to go back on this diet because I can't trust myself. Who said that before? The other way this can go is that maybe you do lose the weight, right? But now you need to live on this restrictive diet forever in order to maintain that weight, which is not sustainable, nor is it good for your physical or mental health. So inevitably, again, you're going to fall off that diet and return to feeling poorly about yourself, all the while, full with all this negative self-talk. And with that, you become more susceptible to emotional eating, right? You gain the weight back and then you feel worse about yourself. And you're either going to continue to use food to cope or you're going to go back on the diet. And this is what we call yo-yo dieting, when your weight cycles because of these extremities. Like we're going extreme. Um, and the thing is that you're setting yourself up for failure this way, right? You're putting your mental and physical well-being into the hands of an external factor. And that is pretty scary, at least to me, right? It's like if you have a partner, right? You have a boyfriend, girlfriend, and you're putting all of your happiness on them. You depend on them to be happy, right? But then what happens if they're not there anymore? What happens if they're at work and they can't answer your call, but you need them in order to feel happy, in order to feel, comfort, whatever it is, right? You don't know how to get that met from your inner source, right? We reach to the external, but all the answers are internal. And so it can be really scary when your happiness is in the hands of something outside of you. But when you eat intuitively, this isn't a problem. So the intuitive eating is an anti-diet approach. So the examples that we talked about before are exactly why an anti-diet approach is necessary to heal that relationship with food and body image. So if the individual was eating in those scenarios based on their body cues and were allowed to trust their bodies and as well as accept their bodies, right? The cycle wouldn't keep repeating itself. When you reject the diet mentality and you learn how to understand and communicate with your body, you don't need to cope with that shame that comes from dieting, nor will you need to feel like you're filling up on food out of fear and deprivation, right? So let's look. Here's the bird's eye view of, really healing this relationship. So first, we have to look at what keeps you going back to the diets or the coping with food, right? What is the need that you're trying to get met through food? For many, it's acceptance, to feel lovable, to lessen the intensity of these big emotions, to band-aid insecurity, avoid rejection, feeling worthy or unworthy, right? And does this sound like you? If it is, I hear you, right? There's no judgment. I've been there too. And, we're going through the way that I healed myself from that as well, right? So I get it. I'm right there with you. And all of these things, all of these really like deep-seated insecurities that you might be trying to get met through food, through manipulating your body, all come and stem from really deep-seated beliefs about yourself, about diet culture, and all of that. So that's a really important thing that we dig deep into in the program that I run, Happy Body, Healthy Mind, where we go through intuitive eating. Then we dive deep into healing these wounds, right? Finding the self-worth, listening to the body. And the body will tell you when it's hungry, when it's full, when it wants movement, when it doesn't want movement, when it wants rest. It will tell you. You have to learn how to listen. And that's a huge part of this work. And you'll learn how to tune in as an intuitive eater so that you don't have to rely on somebody else that doesn't live in your body to tell you what your body feels and needs, right? This is what diets are. This is what meal plans are. This is somebody externally saying, okay, based on, general statistics, based on general ideas, this is what your body needs. Your body's needs are going to change every day, moment by moment, depending on your emotional state, depending on how much movement you've engaged in, depending on your stress levels, depending on so many things, depending on your hydration. Like your body's needs are going to change all the time. And no one outside of you can tell you what that is because they're not living in your body, right? And so when you do this, you no longer spin in the shame cycle, because your worth is not represented by what you eat, what you look like, and you get to live from that really true, safe space from within yourself. You find your self-worth in who you are. And as we do this, we're moving through each of the 10 principles of intuitive eating. So, secret number 2 is, even if you believe that you can't trust your body, you can still heal emotional eating with the 10 intuitive eating principles, right? So the thing is, diets train you to not trust your body, right? Especially if we look back on that example, right, of feeling really deprived because you're on the diet and then you binge and then you feel like, oh, it's me. I don't have the self-control. So I go back to the diet. And the thing is that the diet mentality, the diet industry wants you to stop relying on your body. They want to create that distrust. And that's exactly what diets do. They create the distrust in your body. And in so many ways, we get trained out of listening to our body signals. So, I know what you're thinking, right? Like, you believe that everyone diets, right? It's a problem with you. You binge, so you don't have the self-control. You must not be doing something right. There's no way that you can feel good in your own skin if you don't meet that thin ideal. And that there's no way that you could just trust your body and not just, be eating ice cream and cake and pizza for every meal, right? You would feel so out of control. And I want to assure you and give you that sense of security that you can learn to trust your body and heal that relationship so that you can still eat intuitively and trust yourself. Okay. So if you haven't read the 4 agreements, I recommend it. I say this because the first chapter is on what we call human domestication. It's one of my favorite topics. So follow me with this, okay? Human domestication, according to the 4 agreements, is about how we come into this world as our truest selves, right? We have tantrums, we cry, we are blunt and honest. We're so, so, so authentic. And then the rules of society get programmed into us, right? We're told it isn't appropriate to cry in public. It's bad or hurtful to be that honest. You have to look put together at all costs. It matters what other people think of you. And day by day, we stop listening to our intuition and we adopt the rules of society so that we can be accepted. We all have this innate need to feel accepted. That is our human need. We are pack animals. We need that connection. So there's no shame in this, but this is what happens, right? And it happens with food too. As kids, we know what we want to eat. We know how much satisfies us. We know when we want to walk away from the dish. But when these food rules are put onto us, like you can't be hungry already. You just ate an hour ago. Or you can't leave the table until you finish everything on your plate, right? Who's heard that one before? Who got that one? I did. And we spend so much time with these rules, along with the awareness of the thin ideal in our culture, that we learn that we can't trust our bodies. And our bodies learn that they can't trust us. So When your body would tell you things, oops, I'm gonna go back a slide. So what would happen is, your body as you're growing up and as you're, being programmed this way, your body would tell you, "Hey, I'm full now. Let's stop eating." But the rule was you have to finish everything on your plate. And that message you internalize is, I can't trust my body. My body says I'm full. But these people that I depend on, this outside world, says that no, you can't be full. You need to eat everything. So I can't trust my body. Or on the other hand, when you're hungry and you were told that you can't be hungry, you just had an apple. So you internalize, I can't trust my body. I can't or shouldn't be hungry. And what your body learns is, I won't be listened to anyway. So why do I keep trying to send these messages and be heard? I give up. I can't trust her. So intuitive eating is returning to yourself, and that process is bumpy. But as you rebuild the trust with yourself and with your body, that's where the magic happens, right? And that's what these intuitive eating principles are all about. Okay. So, the 10 intuitive eating principles on the path are to first reject the diet mentality, which we've talked a little bit about so far. Number 2 is to honor your hunger, right? It's starting to tune in and just start looking and noticing, what does hunger feel like in my body? What, do I eat because I'm hungry, or do I eat because it's on schedule? Why am I eating? What does hunger feel like? What are the sensations of hunger? And honor it. Make peace with food. This is a hard one. And this is where we have a lot of unconditional permission. We have, a lot of challenging these food beliefs. Which brings us to principle number 4, challenge the food police. So in intuitive eating, there are a few ways that we externalize or think about the chatter in our mind that has all these different food rules that you live by. In my program, Happy Body, Healthy Mind, we dive into these in depth. But the food police is one of them, right? The food police is that little voice that says, "Oh no, you can't have that. Don't you dare have that. You're gonna gain weight from that," right? It's that what do they say? Forever on moment on the lips, forever on the hips, right? It's that guy. And we have a lot of other ones too. Step 5 is to discover the satisfaction factor, to really tune in and feel in your body after you've eaten, like, does this feel satisfying? Do I want more? Do I want something different? What does it feel like to feel satisfied? Next is to feel your fullness, right? That's something that a lot of us run away from. Like, full is fat, right? And that's not true. Again, one, fat is not something to fear. It is a social construct. It is not bad. It does not mean you're unhealthy, but it is something that in our culture we do fear. And so feeling fullness can, feel a bit triggering at times. And so it's working through that. Step 7 is to cope with your emotions with kindness. And this principle itself was a huge influence on my healing process, and it was a hard one, right? But it was so worth it, and I really am so glad that I was able to work through that, because it has really changed the way that I cope in the world and the way that I show up in the world. Step 8, respect your body. This takes a lot of, reflection and looking at yourself and looking at what you do and how you're treating your body and how you allow others to treat your body, right? Step 9 is movement. In my program, we explore a lot about movement, but we explore mindful movement. So it's not movement to lose weight. It's not movement to burn off the calories that you just ate. It's mindful movement. It's movement because you enjoy doing it, because it makes you feel good. And so we explore a lot of different kinds of movement and how you can tap into what really speaks to your soul and what feels like it's feeding you. Um, and then the last one is to honor your health with gentle nutrition. And this is the last part of the intuitive eating principles, because if we focus on nutrition in the beginning, it can really interfere with, making peace with food and rejecting that diet mentality, because a lot of diet culture right now is focusing on health in a very rigid and extreme way. Um, if anyone's interested, there is a lot of research on health at every size, which basically talks about you can be healthy no matter what size your body is, right? The two, correlation does not equal causation, you know? So there's a lot of research on that if you want to look into it. But yeah, it's important. Nutrition is important for physiology. And I want to really honor that. Nutrition is important, but we have to first make peace with food before we can go into nutrition so that it doesn't interfere. Right. And this is the part that might interfere here. We have as we talk about those characters from that inner chatter. Intuitive eating, we have the nutrition informant and the nutrition ally. So we want to be building the nutrition ally that says, I haven't really had much protein today. What can I have that sounds good that would add more protein to my diet today? Okay, that's gentle nutrition. The nutrition informant is, oh my God, that's too many calories. Did you see how many grams of fat is in that? Oh my God, you cannot eat that. There are too many grams. What about the macros? Did you count? That's the nutrition informant. And that's why this is the last step of intuitive eating, because we want to make peace with the food before we move into the gentle nutrition. Secret number 3 is how to eat intuitively, even when you're surrounded by diet culture comments. It's all around us. One challenge my clients face are the scales, right? And sometimes those comments at the DER's office, right? Unfortunately, some medical professionals still function with the BMI system. And this is one of my biggest pet peeves, right? Like when I go into the doctor's office, I tell them I'm not being weighed because I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect my health. And I know you might be thinking, right? Like, even if I can rebuild the trust with my body and eat intuitively, that I won't be able to do that when I'm surrounded by these types of comments, when I have to go to the doctor and there's that fat phobia, or there's these messages about what is healthy and what, shaming for different foods, right? So this is why the third secret is like how we deal with diet culture comments. And so it brings us back really to principle number 1 in intuitive eating, which is reject the diet culture. And this happens by deconstructing the lies that it's handed to you, and learning new ways to cope with and set boundaries around comments from family, friends, even doctors. So the diet industry, they make a lot of money making people believe that they can't be happy or worthy or healthy. But none of it's true, right? So the thing is, even if you're at the doctor's, right? The thing is that there's a lot of bias that affects things like the way doctors treat patients, the tests that they run, the comments they make about weight. Even in terms of research, right? There's a lot of bias in who's brought into these research studies. Right. And I want to remind you all, I don't know if anyone ever took, statistics or calculus, but there is this saying, correlation does not equal causation. And that's the big thing here. There might be a correlation between weight and a certain condition, But the truth is that it's not causation. Your weight does not cause any condition, right? There's a lot of research about this in the last few decades. Again, I want to reference the Health at Every Size movement. There's so much research there. Um, but a lot of times what happens when you hear these comments and you hear even that those diet ads and things like that, um, what they're telling you, even the statistics that they might be telling you, it often stems from weight stigma. Right? So I encourage you, if you start feeling like you're being sucked in, um, go find the research that they're referencing. Go find the actual research article. That doesn't mean go and read someone who recapped the article on a news network. Find the actual article, because a lot of times they take one piece of that article and they run with it and turn it into something very different. So weight stigma plays a really big role, especially when it comes to medical care in the US. Um, when someone who's overweight goes to the doctor, they'll often get tested for things like diabetes, even if they don't have the symptoms. Meanwhile, someone who is thin, who might even have the symptoms, often doesn't get tested. And this skews a lot of data and is just really harmful, especially when those comments can be made. So don't let anyone tell you that it's proven that weight defines health. Another piece of information that might be really helpful here is talking about the BMI scale. So the BMI scale was actually developed 200 years ago by a man who was a mathematician. He did a lot of astronomy. He dabbled in sociology, and he created the BMI scale not to determine health, but actually to track trends across countries. So the number that you might be trying to meet or that you might be shaming yourself about is really just a number. It means nothing about your health. So another thing that I often hear are messages about food being unhealthy or implying that you're lazy, gross, unmotivated, depending on what food you eat, right? That junk food. And when a client starts intuitively eating, family and friends might make comments. And unfortunately, they might not always be so supportive, right? It might sound like, oh my God, you're going to have that slice of pie, but I thought you were doing so well on that diet. I thought that you were trying to be healthy. Or I'm so worried about you. Or, but you looked so great. You lost so much weight. Yeah, even those underhanded comments where they don't mean to be offensive, but our culture is what it is, and they'll make those comments like, "Oh, you lost some weight. You look great." Well, why does that? Why does the weight make you look great? Right? Where is that connecting? Right? What is beauty to you? So a few things that I want to cover here are just to really steer clear of bringing judgment and morality into your food choices, because you'll spin in that shame cycle so much. Boundary setting is an important part of this process. So replying to your loved ones, even your medical professionals, right, with a firm boundary. And it can sound like, I know you're trying to help, but please don't bring up my food or my body. It's not something I want to talk about with you. Maybe it's like, I'd appreciate it if you didn't use diet talk around me. Like I don't really want that in my vicinity. And these boundaries may have to be set multiple times. It depends on, your loved one. You might have to be more direct. You might, you'll have to feel that out. But again, we're here for the support if you need anything. I think that's a really great part of why in Healthy Body, Happy Mind, we have that really close-knit support system. So you'll be in a group with other women who are going through the same things to kind of get that feedback and get that support, kind of lift you back up when you're in this process of defying diet culture and reconstructing what you want your health and your body image and your self-worth to look like. Another thing here is that, the intuitive eating approach is about unconditional permission, right? So, to anyone that's a chronic dieter, that can sound really scary. But what we know is that binging behavior derives from feelings of deprivation. So, when you allow yourself unconditional permission, meaning you can have a piece of pie or a cookie just as much or just as often as you would have that salad or that broccoli, right? And when you do that, you're more likely to feel satisfied, eat in variety and balanced, and not overeat. Because depriving yourself by labeling foods good or bad or forbidden is what leads to binges and overeating. Right? So comments about your food and eating and all of that, it can feel really, really hard in the beginning, but it's key to come back to the facts that you have unconditional permission to eat whatever it is. And doing so is actually the best and most healthy, holistic thing you can do for yourself, because it ends up in the long run you eating more variety, more balanced, stopping when you feel satisfied rather than feeling deprived and going through that binge cycle. Another key important here when you're dealing with comments and diet culture is to engage in self-care, um, and do a lot of coping for your body, your mind, your soul. Self-care is important. It is essential, not a luxury, right? When you choose yourself and you choose to defy diet culture, you're going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. It does take time, but you will. And you need to really take care of your body in the process and take care of your mind. And that's part of the healing, right? Learning how to genuinely care for yourself. And that comes back to our intuitive eating principle: respect your body, right? Self-care is respecting your body. Um, when you hear diet culture messaging, or when you receive comments about your food choices, I want you to recognize that this is diet industry, right? They're creating a sense of insecurity, of food deprivation, leading to overeating so that they can keep making money, right? They have, 95% of diets fail, and there's a reason for that. Because every time that diet fails after feeling deprived, the person thinks that it's their fault and not the diet. And so they come back. If it actually helped them in the long term, the diet industry would stop making, 100 and somewhat $billion a year. So next, after you recognize that, I want you to just take a deep breath. Engage in self-care, use your coping skills for your body, your mind, and your soul. That can be taking a walk, it could be sitting out in nature, it could be reading a book or taking a bath or sitting in a long shower. Essential oils, get a massage, right? Really, really take care of yourself. Respect your body. Another reason why building up emotional regulation and coping skills in this way, it's a key factor in this process. And it's why that in Happy Body, Healthy Mind, we create that community of women going through the same process, showing up, supporting one another, and implementing these skills together so you can, see what other people do to self-care, see what other people do to respect their bodies, and you guys get to relate with that. So let's recap what we've learned. I shared with you secret number 1, how to heal emotional eating without restrictive, unsustainable diets by using the intuitive eating approach. Even if you believe that you can't trust your body, you can still heal emotional eating with the 10 intuitive eating principles. And secret number 3, how to eat intuitively even when you're surrounded by diet culture comments. So I'm sure some of you here may be looking just for more information. Maybe you're simply curious. But for those of you who are really wanting to dive deep in this, you want that full support, the accountability, that space to really be held in moving through this process. I'm here for it. I'm here for you. That's what, really helped me in my process as I recovered. And that's why I've opened enrollment for Happy Body, Healthy Mind. It's a 6-month program for intuitive eating and body image. Um, and I've been in the struggle. I get it. I see you and I hear you. And now that I've gone through this process and I've been in this state for such a long time, you know, I want to and I am ready to guide you through exactly what helped me heal. All the skills, all of the um, assets and resources that I've accumulated on this journey and help you walk through it. And it's helped me heal my relationship with food, weight, body image. Um, we know that you can't just read a book or watch a video or be in a Facebook group to see real transformation. So that's why this offer exists. It was this kind of support that really empowered me and changed my life, not just about food, but my entire experience of life. And I want that for you too. Um, so if you're interested, feel free to private message me. And I hope that this helped. And I hope to hear from you soon. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, please drop them in the chat. And I hope you guys have a great day and you guys get to start implementing these things. All right. Well, I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.